This is for just our personal use, okay?
Okay, so you guys, we can see Ellen. And I guess I can just turn it towards you when you speak. Yeah. All right, I'm gonna see if anybody else is out there. I still hear
Frank,
you.
okay, here's Frank.
Still hear your messages and stuff. Right? Oh, okay. How do we let that go in?
Hello, Frank.
No, it's Elaine.
Oh,
Oh, Frank, you could say hello. Frank,
Trying to figure out how to.
come here, say hello to John, see how he's feeling.
Hey, John, how you doing?
Come over here.
Hi.
Hey, can you, how do you do this? Here, there, can you see me?
No, Elaine.
Okay, start the video on your computer. I have John. Hey, there we go.
Hi.
How you
Hey.
feeling?
How are you feeling, John?
I feel pretty good, but just have a little nasal drip.
Oh, I wasn't sure if Carol was coming in person.
Boy.
Okay.
That's
But
Hey,
it's
Carol.
been like 14 days, so I guess my quarantine really, I should not be infected. But Ellen tells me I could still be spreading germs, so that's why I'm here via Zoom.
Wow.
Wow. How did you
Wish you
get it?
best.
Do you know how you got infected?
I don't know, any Republicans in the room?
Oh my God.
All right.
No,
I went to a retirement party at the posh country club in Doylestown, and nobody was wearing masks. I told my wife I was gonna wear a mask no matter what, but then I got, you're in a room with people, and you're embarrassed, and so I think I got it.
Yeah.
I think that's how I got it.
Do you know if anybody else got it from there?
No, they won't admit that.
Oh my goodness. Well, we read that. We felt terrible. So, well, we hope you feel better.
Can you
Thank
hear me,
you.
John?
Yeah.
Go to the CVS website and you'll be able to make an appointment and it's an outside thing where you go and you take the test outside. You know what I'm
Well-
talking about? They have a little box outside that you can do the test yourself and then put it in the box and then they call you with the result
Oh, really?
oh, I didn't know. Where is that? Which CVS?
on, right in Newtown on.
Oh, back on Jefferson Street?
Yeah.
Hey, Jan, you're at the meeting. Why do you want to come in via Zoom? You're gonna have echo or something.
Oh, okay, you want to just zoom out there?
You might get a little closer so everybody can hear you, but I'm afraid if there's two Zooms in the same room there, there's gonna be like feedback or something. Is it the CVS in Newtown here?
Everybody on the one side.
Yeah, she said the one on Jefferson.
We'll just, Jan, come this way, and then we'll just make a circle out here. Yeah, so we're all on the same. Wait a minute, Jefferson. I'm not sure if it's the one on Jefferson, but I think they all have it. I think they all have the white box outside the drive-through window. I don't need to be, because I was controlled.
I should have told my wife. She's driving now to urgent care somewhere.
Mhm.
I
But
don't know.
if you have it, do you test false positive even though, because you've had it? I mean, I don't know that. Ellen, do you know that? Any of that?
You can,
There's a
the
test to see if you have it, and
Yeah.
there's a test to see if you have had it. And I believe there are two different tests.
Right, the antibody test, right,
Yeah.
right. So, yeah, I would do the antibody test,
the one, that's the one John should have, yes.
right. We've
Oh,
all decided one.
I know I had it, or I'm getting over
Right,
it.
but if you have the antibodies now, but you already had vaccine also.
Yeah.
So
And
now you're
vaccinated,
double protected for the
Yeah.
next time.
You can, breakthrough COVID is a thing, as John and I can tell you.
It's the same as what?
It's a thing, I said. Breakthrough
thing.
COVID is a
It's a
thing.
breakthrough.
I know it's a
Yes,
thing. I had that
5%.
thing.
Yes, that makes two of us out of this whole group, so that's a pretty big percentage right
I was
there.
afraid I got you infected before I knew I was
Who knows?
positive.
Wow.
The only place I saw you was at the supervisors meeting, so, I mean, we talked outside the doors. Who knows? It's impossible to say.
I was
That's
wearing a
why I don't
mask.
go anywhere.
Yeah.
Well, that teaches us not to, all of us, not to feel funny and embarrassed when you have to wear a mask. Do you know, I'm up in Maine and there is every single store, everybody is masked. And there is a sign out of every single store, masks required, and they stop you and they don't feel funny asking, and they have a mask for you. So they're very careful up here. So.
Yeah. So that's where you are in Maine now?
I'm in Acadia National Park.
Ooh,
We rented a house for 3 weeks. So I'll be home after this week. We had family coming and going. So they're all gone now. And the dog is gone. Now it's just Frank and I, just kayaking, hiking.
I think I'll come up and visit, so you're not so lonely.
I told you, Carol, I told you were invited.
Oh, no, you need some quiet time.
Well, after all the family, yeah, we did an incredible kayak today on Eagle Lake. Oh my God, it was just stunning. So,
Are y'all ready?
Yeah.
yeah, we're ready.
So we'll call the meeting to order. I don't know who's taking minutes.
Carol, you're going to take minutes and I'm going to help because
Oh,
you
we
have the
can both-
computer.
Yeah, let's both try and see if we can do it.
So we're
yeah.
going to both do it together since I
Yeah.
don't have a computer in front of me and except Frank's. And
Yeah,
I have-
the
I'll
Zoom
just
is
take
a little
notes.
tricky, so
We'll just do it. Don't worry.
We'll-
Carol
we'll
and I
do
will
it.
figure it out.
yeah, we'll figure it out.
Okay, so we'll call the meeting to order at 7:08. First order of business would be approval of the minutes from July. If anybody has any comments.
The question, because I wasn't here, the EAC representative from Newtown Borough, is her name?
Catherine Borish.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Yeah. And let's see. Oh, it says on the next page, EAC Facebook, but it's really the web page that they're talking about. If the links are okay that you're saying.
Oh, right, yeah, it is the website, right. It's
Yeah.
all kind of jumbled together, but yeah, it's definitely the links on the website and not the Facebook page.
Did they repair the links?
Yeah.
I went through them and I gave it to, I think to Amy. And it was supposed to be the ones that were not working were supposed to be removed and repaired.
Yeah, they did.
Okay.
And then my note was at the beginning, I think this was an in-person meeting. It said the Zoom meeting was called to order.
We were in person.
Yeah, okay.
Uh-huh.
And that was all I had.
And the
And-
next page, let's see, the arborist report was 2017, so you could just take the age out there. I mean, you can say it was an old report, but it was the spring of 2017 and chairman
For
of the-
Clark?
Yeah, Clark Nature Center. You don't have to put a comment there.
Make no mess up in that.
No.
So that's
That's
not
it.
so old. I mean, it's a little old,
No, but I don't know what they're gonna
but
do.
I'll tell you,
It's up to the arborist.
I'll tell you
what they wanna do.
when we get there.
So any other changes, anyone? No?
Can I ask a question?
Uh-huh.
Who is Maya Simon? Hi, I see you. Can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, we're getting to
Yes.
public comments right after this. Okay. And then
Okay.
introduce Maya at that
Yeah,
time.
let's fix it.
Yeah.
There's a lot.
So anyway, so if we can have a motion to approve the minutes,
I move to approve the minutes, July 12th.
okay? Dan moved to approve in his second.
Second,
Ellen, all in favor?
I,
Aye.
Hi.
All right, now we're on to public comments.
Yeah.
All right, so Maya had reached out and was interested in native plants. So we've invited her to the meeting, and Maya, I don't want to put you on the spot if you'd like to, talk about what you're interested in or just listen in on the meeting, however you'd like to do
Well,
it.
I'll speak briefly. I'm a resident at Friends Village on Lower Dolington Road. It's a Quaker retirement community. We are about 30 residents on a 7-acre campus. And I've been working on educating both the residents and the staff and the board on the need to change the ratio of exotics and natives. Almost all the ornamentals on this property are exotics, although we do have what we call the meadow, which I haven't measured it. It's maybe 50 by 100 of mostly native plants, a lot of milkweed and so on. And we do have a stand of native oaks back in a corner, and there are a few other native things. So I'm working with the garden committee of the Residents Association to develop a long-term plan to be introducing natives to the campus. And, this is all moving along nicely. I do have a pet peeve, it's probably the right name, is that Bradford pears drive me berserko. And one of the reasons that I reached out to you is that I see Bradford pears on public property in the township. And at some point, not tonight, I'd like to find out if there's any interest in eradicating Bradford pears from public property.
yeah. Can she hear us?
That you can hear us, right, Maya?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, one of the things special to Friends is that there's a Friends network. There's a Newtown Friends, there's Buckingham Friends, and Knightstone Friends. And
I'm a member at Makefield Friends, so I'm
Wow.
familiar with the Quakers around.
Yeah, well, Newtown Friends, I have not seen it, is supposed to have a native garden. Buckingham Friends is very progressive. So this is a fabulous network. The first thing I would do is check with those people and get some support or visiting friends.
Mhm. Yes, we've been putting in native plants at Makefield as well. Although Makefield is not in Newtown Township.
Okay,
It's in Upper Makefield.
on Dolington Road.
It's on Dolington Road.
You know Alan? He's a resident there. I don't know his last name.
Alan Feldman, yes, I do.
He's a friend. Tell him Ellen said hello.
I will.
yeah. An easy thing is we have a bunch of native plant pamphlets, and we bought these from Township EAC, and there's nothing like a visual. I don't think you can see me, but this is a fold out that has 4 seasons of native plants and pictures of, there must be 30 plants on here.
Well, I would love to have some copies of that.
Yeah. And I live across the street from you, so I can stop by. Yeah, I'm in.
Wonderful.
Yeah,
Yeah, Jan sent me a bunch of them. I live right in the Country Bend And she wanted me to distribute these to our board members, but she gave me a whole bunch here.
Okay.
I
It's just-
mean, I could share, or I don't know, maybe Jan has some more.
Yeah, I have plenty more right now. We were gonna give them, excuse me, to HOAs, but we didn't make that connection. So I'm just gonna distribute them to interested groups, you know, if they're friends or they're other EACs, other HOAs,
Mhm.
whatever.
I have a question, Jan. Is that pamphlet the one similar to Doylestown and recopied for us, or what is that exactly?
It is the Doylestown one.
This is the one Doylestown. Right,
Yeah.
okay, that's what I thought it was. Okay, but I have also another question. She asked about eradicating the Bradford pears. And is there any discussion? I mean, I know what you wrote us with the noxious weed committee of Pennsylvania. What is there
yeah, there-
any discussion of that?
At the state level, I mean, you know, I spoke to the state botanist and attended a couple of their, it's called Control Plan and Noxious Weed Committee. You know, it's not a great name. That puts people off, but Bradford pear is on their agenda for October as possibly being shifted to the noxious weed status.
Are they considering removal or just not planting anymore?
So here's the thing with Bradford pears and Japanese barberry is that they are sold commercially by nurseries.
Yes.
So while she said, I don't know if you can hear me, she said, you know, the state does not have much enforcement ability because they do not have inspectors. They don't go out to sites. They mostly advise people about what to do with noxious weeds. However, one of the things they would do if Bradford pear was put on this list was that they would go after people selling it in the state. That they would be able, that's something that they would be able to, you know.
Can you tell me who it is you're talking about? A state level something?
It's just the Department of Agriculture who they have a list of what they call
Yep.
their alien plants, and they're just particularly pernicious ones, and they put them on their
Yes.
list. And then you are not allowed to propagate, cultivate, transport, and market any of those plants. They're like kudzu and Japanese knotweed. And so Callery pear and Japanese barberry is going on it, but Callery pear is up for possibly going on it in October when they meet again.
Thank you.
I have a question in relation to her, though, because I saw when I went over your list that autumn olive tree is on it. So if an and I know I've seen them all over the place, including many communities. And based on what is being considered, when someone has an autumn olive, Jan, is it that they have to remove it, or is it left there, or they're encouraged to remove it? What exactly on existing, like, I think that's one of the questions, on existing Bradford, let's say Bradford pear goes on it, but now autumn olive is on it, and you have a major tree. What is expected in a community from that?
We don't have a lot of enforcement power. We have, or if we do, we haven't used it. The state doesn't use it either, because they say they don't have the personnel, they don't have the budget. What happens is sometimes the federal government comes down with a pile of money and says, we can give you help if you want to eradicate noxious weeds. But I don't know per se, but I would think that they would go into the state forests and state parks first to try and do that.
Mhm.
Unless,
Okay.
you know, people's private property.
And my understanding is mostly new plantings that you're trying to control, not removing old
Right.
plantings,
Right,
but encouraging certain types of plants for new plantings going forward. And if you lose a plant due to a storm or something, you can replace it, not with your Bradford pear, but something else.
Well, of course, the Bradford pear, which was marketed as being sterile, is one of the most fertile trees out there. That the the retention ponds for flooding are full of them. You know, I mean, the intersection of Twining and Lindenhurst, which might be Upper Makefield, I'm not sure. It's a mile from where I live. I've only been here for less than 2 years. You know, there must be 40 trees in those two retention ponds. And there's also a number of other invasive weeds, but those are the big ones. And there are also many, many native plants there too, in a meadow kind of environment. But I am hoping that eventually we can mount an offensive against Bradford trees on public property. And how that might be done, you know, certainly it doesn't need to be discussed now at all. But, you know, it's one of my interests.
And Maya, I think I mentioned we don't have an opening right now, but you're welcome to always attend these meetings. So,
Thank you so much.
yeah, that's a great interest.
Yeah.
One of the complicating things is Calais Perry has a native lookalike. So Shadbush, I believe it is. The botanical name is escaping me for a minute. So I think the easiest way to tell is when they start to bury, that there's some distinction there. And you kind of have to get them side by side, or at least get some pictures of the native and the non-native to help out, you know, identifying.
all right, so since we started a bit late with technical issues, are we good? We'll move on and then we can always, you know, revisit this topic, if that's okay with everyone.
Right.
Okay. So plastics is our first project discussion. Ellen, is that you?
Yeah, so I brought it up at a supervisors meeting. I went into plastics and our intent to do away with single-use plastics, to try to do away with them, at least lessen them in the township. And briefly talked about green infrastructure as well. So I'll put those two together. But here is what I wanted to ask, is that people that have an interest in plastics, I need some help. We need some good, and you guys, you women have done the best work possible. Carol and Elaine, you have really done the research. So I'd like to present it in a way to the supervisors that it gives them more information. So I would like to ask you if you would like to put together a presentation for the supervisors on plastics.
No, Carol and I can, right, Carol?
Yeah,
We've
yeah, sure.
spoken. Yeah, we'll do it. We'll do it.
When does that need to be done? What's our time frame?
You don't have a time. I'd like to do it by the end of the year, so we
Oh.
can
That's easy.
get it on the schedule. You know,
Mhm.
like, talk to Micah and get it on the schedule. At the same time, I'd like to ask you, Peter, if you would do the same with green infrastructure and prepare a presentation that you could give to the supervisors if you feel comfortable doing that. If you don't, I'll do it. What do you think?
It's a broad topic.
It is.
It is a broad topic.
Yeah,
They
you
have
it.
no knowledge
Too broad.
whatsoever, so you can talk about it very broadly.
Just to introduce
yeah.
the concept of green or specific things we
Well,
suggest they do.
Just
We're gonna
just
have
the
to,
beginning of introducing green infrastructure and what that means in a very basic way.
Got it.
So you can think, I'm not putting you on the spot and you don't have to answer me now. It was just something I was thinking about. And,
But I would like to know like a consensus wise too, before I get
Sure.
up and start talking about it or whatever. You guys are like, what's he talking about?
You know, it'd be nice, we should share that comprehensive plan with you too, because that was touched on in there, and that was, recently put together and presented. So I'll find that. and send
were you there? You weren't at the supervisor's meeting when I spoke about it.
I heard the recap of the
Right.
rebroadcast.
Yeah, so just very basic. I think just to get the basic principles of what that actually means, building wise.
Echoing of what you said.
Yes, but from an expert and
Okay.
not from me.
Okay.
I'm not an expert.
Good
So
to
I
hear.
took what you said and boiled it down to basic concepts. But you can do, that's like a 5-minute thing,
You can handle that.
you think you can handle that. If everybody else thinks it would be a good idea for those two things,
Can I have a statement? Carol and I, and Ellen, you know this, went to Doylestown EAC meeting. And they gave a presentation sort of on their green infrastructure and plan that it included alternative energy and solar on their buildings and what they plan to do within the next year or two. And they were pretty advanced on their goals, on what they wanted to do. If you wanted to reach out to them and see.
all that information, see, green infrastructure, Peter is an expert on that already.
Right, that's why I'm saying, he already is an expert on it, but to see how they presented it, because
Well-
their Board of Supervisors were right on board with it and is actually moving forward with it.
Key, that's the key. Like, we could present until we drop dead here about solar panels and LED lights,
Right,
Right,
the reception on the other end.
right.
Like, I mean, I was watching today that the utility vehicles, the cop cars that they're buying are all electric.
Mhm.
This is something that I don't know, how are we gonna end that conversation with infrastructure? If everything's electric. We have brand new fire trucks. We have,
Well, that's because they don't know here in Newtown Township. We have to introduce this concept to them, and you have to start somewhere.
right, so I don't wanna hit it with a broad thing again.
Well, Peter, from my perspective, what comes through in these requests for improvements to people's property, and they come through every month, is that there's no, or developments like Arcadia. Now, that developer was supposed to be he's Philadelphia, long history in the main line. I don't know if you know the main lines. Okay. He sees himself as very progressive, but no one asked, and he said, I'm going to do energy saving facets in this. No one asked him what the energy
They
saving
just don't
facets were.
understand the concepts yet.
So the thing you might give them, and I was thinking of this myself, is that when you have a developer here, or you set up a set of questions to ask them, are you as a developer, are you going to have solar on your rooftops? Are you going to have green roofs? Are you going to have, a charging station? And they have to get that into their vocabulary. And an easy way to do it is say, here, because they will do this. They now asked about native trees, and they ask about, like John asked about it, or Dennis will ask about it, but you have to tell them what to ask.
I think John has a concept of it, but a lot of the others don't. So I think it's time to start from square one.
Well, a lot of these things come from our engineer and township planner. When they do land development, they specify the types of trees and so on that should be planted. Like at the Brixmore, there was a whole plan for all the kinds of trees. And that works off the saldo, isn't that right, Jan? Or you know, I know that the planning commission has been talking, and you guys have been talking about the saldo, but that's what's in the saldo, isn't that correct?
Yeah, the sourdough has, well, street trees, they specify street trees, they specify buffers. You know, there are lists within the
We're
sourdough,
going way
yeah.
past trees, though. We're talking about infrastructure.
Yeah,
not
I think we're
trees.
talking about
We're talking, that's a
building
completely different subject.
a
John.
different kind of infrastructure in that, if we want to go towards awareness, we've got to, we have to supply them with the vocabulary and the concepts.
Right.
Because I don't hear, or this is between us, I don't hear the chair of the supervisors asking any
Right, he doesn't know anything.
green infrastructure questions. I don't hear another person asking any of those questions.
But knowing some specifics that Doylestown mentioned would be useful to kind of hone in on, you know, topics that might be of interest that they've probably vetted a bit, you know?
And you're right, the comprehensive plan
Right.
is the best way to look because that's a blueprint
Right.
Right.
for the jointure, so.
So that's as
it's a
far as
perfect
green
thing.
infrastructure,
Yeah.
yes. As far
our
as like the
blueprint.
other thing, plastics, there's nothing in there. I wrote a sentence and they put it in there and that's it. So it's a couple of things to think about. All of that needs to be introduced to the supervisor. They
Right.
don't have that language.
I can work with you on that. I kind of tuned in.
And Elaine and Carol have done so much work as far as plastics are concerned that I mean, they're right on top of it. And so those two things we have to start to talk about them because if we are the EAC, this is what we do. We're, you know, trees are important, but all these climate change is important and we have to address it in any way we can.
So we're gonna come in with some broad ideas and then kind of narrow down on some specifics that we think they should try to implement.
Yes.
Okay.
Does everybody think that's a good idea? What does everybody think? We're
Yeah.
just talking.
I totally agree with you, Ellen. I mean, I'm up in Maine and they have a plastics ban up here. It's their common way of life up here now. You know, and I think we could do it.
Yeah,
Other people can do it, we can do it.
yeah. I think we have to
Yeah.
do it.
Peter has something to add.
Yes, please.
Well, I don't know what, are we talking about plastics or green
There's
infrastructure?
two things.
You're talking about green infrastructure, but as I mentioned first
Like,
with the plastics and the ladies.
It was mentioned that this is Pennsylvania is the Wild West. And we need to get over that hurdle and education for whoever's listening. That's my problem. I don't know who's listening, but I mean, that's one of the reasons I'm here is because of the development right next door. You know, we can do a lot is to tell who's ever listening that we don't want any more storm issues with tornadoes and all this. We want to protect the future. So we're going to need to start with, you know, getting off the fossil fuels.
Yeah.
And it's not something you could implement today.
Right.
If it's education. So
Yeah,
we need to keep hitting the supervisors with information.
Yeah.
And blueprints would be
Blueprint.
useful.
Yeah,
So,
and-
yeah.
A way to
And
go forward.
They've never heard of low impact development. I guarantee it. And they barely know what LEED is. And you probably know very much both about
Well, I
it.
have lots of show and tell stuff, but I just don't know, like I want to do like a raise your hands who believes in climate change. I haven't talked to my AEC yet to know like where you guys, like I'm too new, right? I don't know.
Just jump right in.
Oh, let's do a raise of hands.
Just
Who
gonna-
believes in climate change?
We're the environmental advisory committee. I think if you're not gonna find believers here, you're not gonna find them anywhere.
Well, here, yes, it's a good question, because in the past, we did a climate presentation that didn't go over well with the previous supervisors. So it is knowing your audience is, you
That's
know,
interesting.
You have to
Yeah.
keep pressing it. We can't let it go. We have to keep trying.
Like, it seems to be the bottom line is money and how much it's gonna cost,
Yep,
my
right.
thing,
Of course.
but,
But we
you know,
can't worry about that until we get the ideas across. So when money, when they're talking about budgeting or whatever, that's, first they have to accept the idea that it needs to happen.
Well, when it's budget season, they decide, oh, we need a new F-150 truck for for Public Works. Now I see advertised that there are electric F-150 trucks. And we just purchased one that's gas. When we have these new things to come up in the budget, if we have the knowledge of what we can recommend, like we could say, look, how about let's get a electric vehicle, and here's what I know about the available electric vehicles from the EAC. And, I could put forward, or somebody could put forward a motion to that effect, especially important when we start reviewing the budget, because there are other items on there that maybe you need to look at to see if they're all environmentally friendly, purchases that we're planning to make, for example.
Well, I think this isn't going to happen immediately. So we have to, like I said, introduce the language so that next year's budget we can attempt to have an influence on that when other items are up for purchase or whatever. So obviously it's September, it's too late for this budget. This budget is already almost done, I would think.
No, not those details. I mean, there's going to be a budget presentation October 18th. Now that's an opportunity to be there and educate people. If there are items on there, like new trucks or new police vehicles.
well, we can't,
Yeah,
we can't advocate for new trucks that are electric powered when we don't have like a plug-in. We don't have the infrastructure, the solar panels. We're
Right.
still in a gas, fossil fuel grid. And unfortunately, fortunately, I did speak to Bob Pellegrino, Newtown Township Manager. I thought he was telling me about the lighting, the LED lighting upgrades they did in the library. He said they're saving 50% on electricity yearly. Yeah, that doesn't tell me a lot, but 50% on electricity is, I have so much going through my head because I spoke to a lot of people, but that's 50% you could spend on something else.
who's he with?
Bob Pellegrino is the township manager.
Not here, not in Newtown
Northtown,
Township.
no, what did I say? Northampton.
oh,
Okay, yeah, that's where the library is.
He was excited to tell me that. He didn't have the details. And they were excited to tell me that they are seeing savings on their LED streetlight changes. But
I can put you in touch with a lot of people like West Rock Hill Township. They've already done the whole conversion of everything. And you can talk to them. As a matter of fact, the wife of the supervisor that initiated it is a friend of mine. And her husband, a supervisor, will be glad to tell you step by step how they went about doing it.
Do you think they would come down as a guest?
I think they would. Yeah.
That'd be super.
so it would be great to have a guest and not like me to have to do all this.
Yeah,
Because maybe an expert at one
Right.
thing, but not of what ties it all together is somebody from the government sides, enacting this thing to get it approved.
Yeah,
We
I agree.
have facts here,
Yeah.
but
I agree, totally. Here's, it works in another township, so we could do it too. in her
Are
town.
you
Exactly.
suggesting the guest comes to the October 18th budget meeting? Is that what the conversation is about?
Or any supervisor's meeting, doesn't have to be budget, as long as we could get
As
That's fair.
as I said, we would have a hard time getting anything through for this year, I think. But we could get those ideas, they could, West Rock Hill could say what they've done, how much it costs. You know, they've converted, their whole township buildings are solar. You know, what did that cost?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think though that Peter's point is well taken in that the budget, et cetera, you know, the frame of the budget is there. And let's say like they're gonna buy some trucks. If they have the information on what, it doesn't say in the budget exactly what kind of trucks they're going to get. But I think that therefore, when it comes time to buy the trucks, they at least have some thought process and, okay, now let's see, what kind are we gonna get? Go back to the information that had been provided on what is the most energy efficient, what is the best for the environment. What do you think? Am I correct on that?
Absolutely.
Well, they tend to get things that they've previously purchased. The
Yeah,
same.
right. And if they don't know any different,
But it also has to come from there's a special source for some of this. You know, maybe there's competitive bidding. Does it come from Fred Beans? Maybe lots of times. So, you know, it might be a good idea to talk to Fred Beans about what kind of electric vehicles are appropriate for, you know, the township.
but if we, yeah, but the township has to have an expectation that they are having those conversations, right? We have to kind of push them forward.
Yeah, I don't know how you do that, but you have to get on the agenda. You're talking about guest speakers. I've never seen that.
Yeah.
So,
I would like to give a little bit of information from inside our township, like us, first, before we bring that in. So we have to have a way to introduce all of it. And then we start getting somebody on the agenda for the meetings to, you know, but they have to accept the literal idea of it, you know, before we can work on how much money it's going to cost or this or that. Are they willing? Are the supervisors willing to make a change? Do they think about the planet in which we live the same way we think about it? If not, can we get them to accept some of this harsh reality and do something, make a move and try to make it better in our township? But you have to introduce the concepts first to people that don't understand.
So
Ellen. So what you're really saying is that we have to be much more organized and have the lists, not, oh, there's a truck and there's a, no. I mean, what are our priorities then with Peter? What do you see as the priorities? You know, the LED, the solar, the rooftop, the you know, the
Exactly.
vehicles. Right. I mean, are we actually being organized, not just talking about it, but have the list and then let's start, you know, breaking it up and working on it, you know, so we move forward with it.
John has given us a focus with this LED street light, and we really should get behind that. And
Right.
he will look at what the county commissioners have to offer. NextEra, he brought NextEra in.
Right.
I have some information from the Delaware Valley Regional Planning Commission that has a program, and I posted this, and I have some. I gave John one. It's just, all it is this is just a snapshot. They go into in depth with this. This is the collective program that Dan Williams introduced to us, that he said other townships are doing. And if I could give each one of you one of these to take with you, and I posted it online, I think last Wednesday.
Wait, is that only NextEra? I'm sorry, I'm confused.
So we have three options to present to the supervisors. One would be the NextEra, and now we have a video of that. So that's easy to, you know, give them that information, as well as, you know, personally. John's going to do see what the county commissioners have, and then we will, you know, read this and try to beef up our knowledge about what the Delaware Valley Regional Planning Commission has to offer, because that's a collective buying and it's a discount. So, I mean, that's a pretty hefty presentation if we get that,
Mhm.
I think.
Okay.
He has to focus. I'd like to follow up on it. And I can tell you the townships, I don't know if I have them here, the townships that were involved with that, as Dan Williams was saying, was like there's Salem, there was Newtown Borough, there was Warrington, there was Buckingham, and, you know, those are just the ones that were involved in Bucks County. There was Chester County, Delaware County. So this is an established program. I think they started at least in 2015. So it's something that they know how to do. I mean, they're experts at offering this kind of thing.
And
program.
Jan, you said that was Delaware Valley Regional Planning Commission?
Yeah, in fact, one of those articles that you posted, I think was from them.
Is
Okay.
this program still going on? When I looked at it, it looked like old information.
It's
Old information,
Yeah,
But
but
they
it's
may
the
have a third
same.
round.
Yeah,
okay, that's what I was trying to figure out.
we would have to see.
Yeah.
I've been trying to be in touch with the,
Right,
and she hasn't responded yet.
Okay.
So it's ongoing, but we'd have to find out, you
right.
know, when it was next offered. That's
Yeah.
right.
So is that grants that are offered?
So
It's not a grant,
Direct funding?
it's a collective buying so that you get,
volume. So you're sharing, like, the distributor will charge less per fixture if a
right,
certain number of townships
you
are
get a
doing it.
discount.
But if it turns out it's only us, we don't get a discount.
Right,
Right, we missed the last one.
Yeah, it seems like
right.
hopefully there'll be another, but right now.
Well, that certainly is a start.
But John has disappeared.
John has
Yeah,
disappeared.
I'm sorry, my camera crapped out on me, so
Wipe that crazy smile off your face.
don't make me cough.
I happened to run into Armour and Sons while they were replacing a light bulb. And he said he's been trying to get Newtown to do as needed when a bulb fails to change a light bulb, upgrade it to LED for years
Uh-huh.
and unsuccessful.
Really?
Why is it unsuccessful? Who's
That's what-
denying?
There is the.
I can't hear you with your mask. I can't hear anything. I'm sorry.
There's the disconnect that I see that the hurdle I can't get through is we have facts, but we can't get it to somebody who's listening. You know, like, I mean, we got John, and I don't know, because I'm not gonna name any names, but I did speak to another supervisor, and he wasn't interested at the moment of hearing anything about energy efficiency at the moment. But so who's that person listening, or what do we have to say that is going to change somebody's mind so that they're on our point of view?
They
Well,
have, listen, the
this-
public has a big,
Yeah.
it has to come from the public. They're not going to do any initiative that the public doesn't back. So I
Well,
think it's all about public awareness and getting the public to buy in, and for the supervisors to get an idea that this is what we want. Now, I know that's a tall order right there.
Well, it's honestly what we used to focus on all the time was community outreach. And we didn't focus on changing policy within the supervisors. We focused on outreach, and we ran educational programs because that was just what we did for a long time. So, I mean, we could be two prongs.
Well, I think the community needs outreach. Even my neighbor said he didn't like the LED idea because he liked the color of the old bulbs.
you know you can get LED in different colors.
No, that's what I'm saying. You know, the education, even if like I've said, I brought it to the next level with certain people. I said, well, you know, what about the environment? And it doesn't seem like it reaches.
you have to bring it up in something that interests people. So like climate change, maybe not, but your yard flooding, your basement flooding, you know, why is this all happening? You know,
About money.
Well,
Yeah.
with LED lights, the next tier was different than just replacing bulbs. It was replacing the whole system, which was more advanced. It allowed, for example, the police to up the intensity in
Wow.
certain areas where there are more crime, or if somebody's complaining, to lower it and have more control over it. That might be of interest to residents.
John, not yet, but if you were here, I brought all, no, I don't think I brought the lights. I have lots of show and tell stuff. I have controllable LED lights. And I really think that we need to focus on the first, this is what Northampton is doing too. They did their first round of dumb LEDs, we'll call them, right? That's what you said. The smart technology, they will see how they need it. But right now, we don't even have LEDs to, you know, to know what the benefit is. Like, you know.
Okay, you know, I was going to say that I've never heard this about Amor trying to get LEDs. I was under the impression, stupid me, for assuming that they weren't replacing some, because when I'm driving around, I see white lights that are much brighter.
The brand new mercury vapor bulbs or whatever they are. They're not LEDs. They just need, they can't do it. They just need the parts, you know?
I mean, they could do what? I'm sorry.
The bulbs, they have a contract to replace burnt out and faulty equipment through Newtown. But instead of them going out and replacing the same fossil fuel using bulb, like, see that, you know, they can bring out an LED fixture, you know, it's an extra half hour worth of work. And
Or they have to change the fixture as well.
in some certain, you know, some instances, like the big ones I have in my development, I'm sure they have something we could, but again, I don't know, we need to find that fixture. I think there's a few hurdles.
Well, you see, this is what the supervisors are going to want to know. What's totally involved? How much money does it cost? Who's going to do it?
So I know, but we don't have, like,
But
if Armour and Sons.
that's the thing, John. The ideas have to come before the practice. They, like the supervisor that he's talking about that doesn't want to hear about climate change or anything, I don't think he's the only one. So we have to change hearts and minds and enlighten people so they can see that Newtown Township is a part of the whole picture in all these things. And certainly the LED light bulbs down, you know, to solar, to whatever. They have to understand. It's not good that a supervisor doesn't want to listen to things about climate
It
change.
isn't
That
good.
is terrible.
Isn't good. One thing that we can do that's really easy is, I was thinking, under communications, for the next year, we have 3 articles in Parks and Rec magazine. They can all be about transitional energy, every one of them. And we can write whatever you want, John.
That's fine, but are they gonna read it? You know, I mean, we're targeting a certain group of people.
As give them as much energy, much information from whatever source you can give it, you know. Don't let it
Okay,
slide
that's
under
true.
there.
That's true.
No, I think, yeah, hit them from all angles.
As many angles as you
Educate-
can.
I just think education should weigh more than the implementation at
I
this point,
agree.
until we get enough
That's
people.
what I
on our
think.
side.
That was
think
my
you're
whole
right.
point.
You'd
in the
have to come
beginning.
up with an angle, like for LEDs. I mean, if you're talking about educating the public, you're talking about educating the supervisor.
Like-
Both.
If changing over to electric is beneficial for our children, I mean, I don't know what you want to say, like, change the argument so that people will be like, oh, I get it.
Or
And then-
taxes, There's gotta be,
Also,
yeah.
there's another
And
angle
then
as
we can
well.
worry about the details of,
Right.
how many LEDs do we need to do that? But
There's another angle, which is writing letters to the courier or the intelligencer.
Yes.
And that, I mean,
Yes.
we, in many ways, that works very well in
Yeah.
the things that we're doing as right now.
Yeah, and I will follow up on this. Dennis Fisher and David Oxley came to my door canvassing. So I started to talk to David, especially because there's all this financial budgeting aspect of it, and he eats this for breakfast, So I said, maybe I should just send you some information on it, and now we have, at least superficially, 3 options that we can say that the EAC is looking at. And this is the April video, if you care to look at it. There's this couple sheets from the Regional Planning Commission, and what's the other one? The
next area.
next
Oh, no, that
next
was
era,
April.
didn't I say that? Anyway,
This
we have
one.
three possible,
This one, the DRVC.
the DVRC, the next era,
I
and
don't
yeah.
know. Where's the
So
third?
anyway, we have 3 possible options that the EAC is looking at and want to do, a longer, more in-depth look, and something we might want to present to the supervisors. So here's a preview. Just send it to a couple supervisors and get their feet wet.
There could be other committees that are interested in elements of this too, like technology, budgeting, finance, whomever, whatever angle they get them on board,
Absolutely.
planning,
Yeah, Charlotte's doing it.
It's a long haul. So, and we have to be prepared for that. It's not gonna happen overnight. I know you want it to, Peter. I know
No,
it's
no, no.
frustrating. I mean, we all want it, but here it is. This is our opportunity to make a difference in our township by trying to get these new ideas across. And, leaders are gonna come and go, and I think they're gonna buy in at some point, and we'll just see how long it takes to get all of this, in their heads and make a move. And I could bring members of my community that are into this, and pack them in here. Well, my
So you're
COVID is
saying
over.
grassroots rallies?
Huh?
We need some grassroots rallies?
Whatever, we need to institute some change if we can.
if we want to do any sort of community sort of thing, and I've mentioned this before, we ran an energy audit forum years ago, super well attended. These people were very interested in money savings. So how to, yeah, it's the PICO, how to lower your energy bill. So if you talked about, LED lights or whatever, not you, but we ran a forum, that's another problem to get. And you could even say, a lot of interest in this in the community. I don't know, just an idea.
Yeah.
I like forums. I'm always.
Um,
I only want to have a forum if they're gonna watch it, like,
Yeah, but I'm not so focused on just
okay,
that.
yeah, well, you're right.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. And you can get grassroots, like by encouraging people to come to the forum and then say, implement these in your own homes, but also ask your supervisors to implement them in the community, which is better for our local community and maybe your tax dollars at the end of the, line or whatever, because you're spending less on infrastructure, energy costs.
Right. Get your supervisors.
Yeah.
So we have to come up with a plan and a way to do this. So, as I said before, I think the ladies, plastics to me is right here and now. That's not something we have to really work on with the supervisors all that much, because the public is already into it. Very much so, as we see, as I said, all the townships around us, here, there, and everywhere. So I think that's something that we can accomplish quickly.
And then we get the information from Doylestown. and see-
Yeah, like I said, these ladies have compiled so much information that it made me so much more knowledgeable than I ever was. And, they inspired me.
Thank
got-
you.
So are we finished with plastics?
Well, I
and
have something
food?
else.
Oh, you do.
Plastic.
Okay, let's
I
do
have
yours.
a shopping bag. Is 100% compostable. But this is from Italy, so we
Oh,
don't have
good.
this technology in the US.
How much is it, you
I
know?
don't know. They charge you 5 cents or whatever when you get your groceries. But
They don't
so,
have it anywhere in the US?
well, I brought this for
I think they
starting
do.
the conversation. Like, can't,
That's
I
nice.
mean, what
It's
is,
available online,
if you can buy
Aqua-
1,000 of them, maybe you can get it.
Aquaphone.
Peter,
Ian,
Peter,
you know about these bags, right?
I would like to get together and see that because I ordered some different products just to see their products. And I know up here where I am, they charge $5 cents for everything. So, and everybody pays it without saying anything. So I would love to get together and see that and see what I have compiled and, you know, move on for there. So during the presentation, we can even show things like that and show alternatives and, you know, what,
Even if there's one more thing to have that's not actually implemented, it's like, I don't think we've solved all the issues in our end of the world.
And hemp, you should have some hemp bags because.
Oh,
Right.
hemp, we should have some hemp bags. Okay, I didn't hear you.
We're tempted to-
Well, this is
Dennis.
about
No, we're gonna
plastics.
work on that.
This is about
Okay.
plastics. So.
Well, hemp, there is hemp plastic.
Okay.
And big plastic, they can make textiles, and make toothbrushes.
And you know
And
McCaffrey's
they
put those signs up,
oils.
sorry.
No, go ahead.
That's just for
What
reusable
time?
bags.
But
They-
that's good though. that they
Yeah,
did
but they
that.
need to do a whole lot.
But first step, you know, they're
Yeah.
the only store around here, I've seen it. You know.
Well,
What do
there's, a lot of their stores don't use plastics anymore. Why are they not doing that here in Newtown? That's what I want to know. I'm way past reusable bags for them. I want to know why they're not implementing what they do in New Hope.
What do they do?
They don't have plastic bags,
What do they-
period.
they have
Paper
paper-
bags, that's it.
There's a sign there that says they have a paper bag shortage, don't ask for a paper bag.
I understand.
Yeah.
So here, I understand.
Uh-huh.
I talked to them ad nauseum about this paper bag shortage, and it's like, if you order more, they're gonna have to find a way. If you're using less plastic and you have to find a way for something, then they're going to look to alternative. If that's reusable, if that's paper, whatever it is, there are more options than just plastic. So
You
whatever.
know, but the
Fine.
reality in the research that we did, like Elaine's up in Maine. There are many states that have mandated statewide the elimination of plastics,
Right.
including Connecticut, including Maine, and the list goes on. I mean, I don't have my data in front of me, but that's the kind of information we provide them.
I
If
told
a
them,
whole state can do it, we don't have to show them, here's a bag that comes, you know.
Yeah, but Carol, it's good to have,
I understand it's good to
you
have,
know,
That's
I,
great,
you know,
right.
I get it.
like saying,
We're
oh, buy,
agreement,
yeah.
But
Yeah.
I think with what Peter just said and Ellen just said, and Jan just said, you know, with using hemp. I think what will be like, you know, picture says 1,000 words.
Yeah,
I
but
think
corporate,
we have,
right.
I
But
get
these
it.
Big businesses, the corporate people have had to do this in other states. So they already
Right.
have products designed and
But
developed.
I'm going
their
to
label.
have it anyway.
Right,
Just
that's
because
fine,
we
That's
have
fine.
naysayers here.
but
So it's nice to have it. And that's all. that's
yeah, I
important.
do, I totally agree, but it frustrates me to no end that
Carol, let me.
they
just jump in.
can't, yeah,
Right?
that they
And
can't.
what happens on the state level in Pennsylvania is that, how do I phrase this? They had a ban on banning.
They know.
Yes,
single-
they have a
A
ban
ban
on
on
the ban.
bans, which may be instituted again, by the way, Jan.
Yeah,
That we were told from the EAC, from their Board of Supervisors in Doylestown, this is why
Doylestown.
they're rushing right now to get their ordinance in. They said from the Board of Supervisors, I forgot her name, because I'm up here, not my stuff in front of me. And she said that at the next meeting, they may push again for the ban on bans. So,
That's
Because
a
they
state
they
issue.
lifted the ban at the state level. Yeah, I know who that is. That's Janine Mitchell.
no, we know they lifted it, but they talked about their
Reinstating it.
concern that they'll put it back.
Yeah. They
You
might
know,
reinstate it.
right, Carol, that's what they
Yeah,
were talking
They were
about.
talking about reinstating the ban.
So just, we gotta move forward and not worry about it,
Mhm.
but, you
Good.
know,
Acres is doing this in most of their supermarkets voluntarily.
say it
They-
again, Ellen?
They're
can't-
doing it voluntarily. So if they do it voluntarily, you don't have to worry about bans from the state.
Right. this is
Okay,
Right.
all right,
just
good.
to say that the township could not do anything for a year. So it was useless to ask them to do anything.
Yeah,
Now
which
it's,
is-
now we can bring this up and
Yeah.
it's, something that they possibly
So
find
instead of
entertaining.
talking about it, let's do it. Let's,
Mhm.
Good.
We'll do it, Ellen, we'll do it.
I will definitely be in on that with you too. I am, you know how important it is to me. It's
Right.
Right,
Right.
crazy important. And guess what? When I knock doors, everybody is for it. A plastics ban, they're for anything that helps the environment. So the public is on board as well.
Good. Good. Easy enough.
Did you have anything else that you wanted to?
No, I was just taking in.
Okay, no, I know you brought your stuff, so I just want to make sure we covered everything. Do we want to move on to networking, or am I skipping anything?
Yeah, you are.
What am I skipping?
Wait a minute, when you guys get
Trail
back,
system.
let's get together when,
Unless
No,
I-
I'll be back on I'll be back Saturday, so don't worry about
I promise.
so let's hash it out. When you
it.
get
Okay.
back. Let's do it.
So we're doing green infrastructure. Is anyone doing Ready for 100 or is that just listed?
No, we should, I thought we got rid of it, but I think we should bring it back.
No, we're,
Yeah,
yeah,
it
we're
was-
back.
Up in the air, so.
Oh, so not this meeting.
No, it shouldn't have been, I think I mentioned it to you when you sent me, I said, let's put it back
Yeah.
in there. So it should be here,
Okay.
Because it's a blueprint.
right?
It is, I didn't know what it was.
It is.
But then I read, now I know what it is.
Right.
And it's like, it fits in the piece of the puzzle.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, the trail, we were talking about Dark Hollow, which is up near Doylestown area, and how this is, it's actually a county-owned park, which is, just has, and there is a movement to, have a trail system throughout
What
the
are we on
county.
here? Wait a
and
minute,
We're
Actually,
under infrastructure, right?
we're in trail
system.
system, green infrastructure.
Okay.
So some of the Doylestown people are in that advisory, citizens advisory group. And I ran across an article that relates to birds as well, that says when you have a trail with humans coming across it, that it actually disrupts the wildlife in a way that we hadn't thought about before. And it disrupts them as up to as much as a mile away. So, and they can even become, their eating habits can become affected, this kind of disorientation from their natural habitat. So anyway, I emailed her the article, and she will present it to that citizens, one of those
You emailed
citizens
who the
advisory
article?
groups. Hmm?
Who did you email the article?
Well, she's the chair of the Doylestown EAC.
Oh, okay.
She's, one of friends, but, so she will present that, and she, they've been very active in Birdtown, so it's close to their hearts as well. So that's just all I have about the trail.
And Michael's usually our trail guy, so. Okay, so I had just one update with networking with other EACs. I'm actually meeting Kathleen Borish, who is the new member of the Borough EAC this week for coffee. So anything y'all want me to bring up to her, because she wants to find ways that we can all work together. I mean, plastics is an obvious choice because they all shop at grocery stores in the
Right.
township. You know, they don't have a grocery store other than that one little green one. So,
Can you just repeat the name? I didn't hear it at all.
Kathleen, and
What
then
is
it's
that?
Kathleen, like
Kathleen.
that Borish,
Yeah,
Borish.
Okay.
She's newly appointed to the borough EAC. So I will mention the plastics thing, any sort of lobbying of businesses that, you know, be good to have borough and township folks working.
right.
They already did the LED thing in the borough.
Right.
And that was predates anybody that's on it now, so they didn't really have a lot of information to provide. But if you think of anything, let me know. They want to work with us.
Right.
So that's all I
And
have.
she's with Friends, I think, as well.
Oh, okay, yes,
Yeah,
you're right,
yeah.
yeah. She did
So-
that project with us.
Yeah,
The native plant theater project that we did. We were trying to get an environmental film fest off every year, which would be super cool, but then COVID hit.
What happened?
We were,
COVID,
COVID, yeah, but
the great destroyer of meetings
Right.
and gatherings.
yes. Anyway, so that's all I have for that.
I'm attempting round 2 of contacting the upper Makefield.
Okay.
I'm gonna say, like, I sent out emails and I'm not gonna give that much weight, but I checked out their meeting minutes
Uh-huh.
yeah.
and apparently their meetings only run like 20 minutes, so not really. And they cut all the, like, the questions about what to do with the lantern flies,
Uh-huh.
and they're like, we should have a community outreach, and their chairman, Bud Baldwin, just cuts everything down. So, you know, I'll try it again
Okay.
to contact them, but
Yeah, see, that's what I mean. It's like, you supervisors at one township, it's like you're talking to different people that might be interested. Supervisors at another township aren't, they are over here, they're not over there. It's like knowledge. That they all have to be educated and
like they actually have a meeting, because they have the Delaware River. And so they have properties that are in the Riparian zone, and they provide grants to people who need remediation. And so they actually, their meetings are, you know, they meet with residents of the township to address certain other issues like that. It doesn't seem like they really focus on what we're talking about today.
Yeah.
But that's kind of what my email was saying. We have these climate issues we need to, you know, discuss globally. So I'm going to keep trying,
Yeah.
but it's kind of like,
Peter, can I ask you a question? You're trying to contact, because I'm trying to hear this. You're trying to contact them specifically for your projects? And can you show up at their meeting?
no, I would like to know what other, like you with Doylestown.
Just general.
Yeah, how they are approaching this global issue of climate change. And maybe if I do attend a meeting and they talk about that, I'll learn how
Yeah,
they're wording it, how they're, you know, they want to target the audience, how they're,
you know, Lower Makefield now has videos on their Facebook, and that I've watched the last 2 EAC meetings. They're quite a bit ahead of us. So they're good.
They're
Yeah,
very active.
Yeah,
They
They're-
came to our environmental movie night, that whoever was in charge, I think he moved, but yeah.
yeah. So, and it's easy. All you do is watch the video. You don't have to, you get more in a shorter period
Yeah,
of time, more
that's
information. If that's what you want.
the backup plan is just to listen online, whatever they have recorded.
And
Well,
attend if you
Yeah.
can. I mean, I thought it would be nice to go to Lower Makefield meeting at some point about the way they handle their township tree programs,
Mhm.
because they really have it together. And the research that they did is going to be helpful going
Yeah.
forward, really helpful.
Right.
What is their video on, Jan?
Lower Bakefield has now videotaping
Oh,
their council and community, board meetings.
okay.
They can go on their Facebook page. I'm sure you can get there from their website somehow.
Okay.
But you can watch their EAC meetings if you want to live.
All right, communications. I have not received an email recently about when the next article is due. Have you?
Yeah, she condensed that list, and she just condensed it to a few people, so she sent it to me,
Uh-huh.
and
Oh, the new person.
yes,
Yeah,
the new
okay.
director.
Yeah, all right. So you know the date?
So I sent, she said the draft back,
Mm-hmm.
and so I sent a copy of I think I sent one to you. I sent an email that said I had sent
Okay.
a draft to
Yeah,
to
yeah, okay.
Elaine, and then,
Right.
and they just had to delete one line, and then everything was copacetic. so
Okay.
they went
And then I mentioned that the website links were repaired. I shared the Facebook access with someone, I don't remember who. But anyway, whoever wants to post out there, just let me know.
Birdtown is communicating with us if you want to.
Yeah, they just sent that email.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they, Pennsylvania Audubon is now Mid-Atlantic Audubon, they joined in Maryland, as you know. And so it looks like Val Peckham is still the Southeast coordinator, but I don't know what that means.
No, I've
anymore.
emailed her, she's not responding. I assume she's pretty busy right now. And then Stacy Carpool left.
Stacy Carpenter left as
Yeah.
the director of Bucks Audubon left.
Right.
However, Heidi Shiver, who was associated with them, and I don't know if she still is, has got together a group of interested parties to be an advisory group to the new Mid-Atlantic
Yeah,
Audubon.
okay.
So they're looking
Yeah.
for independent funding, outside of Mid-Atlantic Audubon.
Mhm.
And they seem to have some good prospects already, so they're gonna move ahead with whatever programs they can.
Yeah, Birdtown has fallen off of our agenda, but we'll have to
Nothing happening.
Nothing, but yeah, it sounds like they're trying to resurrect it, so we'll have to keep an eye on that.
Can I ask a question about the Facebook page?
Yep.
I noticed that when it says about or contact us, it goes to a Birdtown site. Why shouldn't it go to, I don't know, your page on the township website?
You mean like if you're on the Facebook page and you click on contact us?
Yeah,
Yeah, because I think we get those messages. I'll take a look at it and see.
well, or maybe visit our website, one of those links.
Right, okay.
It goes to Birdtown, and I'm totally confused.
I thought I went through that, and that's exactly what happened as well. And I wrote that. It was going to the wrong site.
And we should have the EAC handbook on there, I would.
I'm gonna sign off, friends. Thank you so much for making me well.
here.
Oh, thanks, Maya.
I'll be in touch.
So many
I'm-
times,
Yeah, I'm encouraged.
and say hello to Alan for me.
I will.
All right, I'll look at the Facebook page. Okay, Clark Nature Center, nothing?
They don't know
there?
what they're doing
Okay.
at this point. They want to work on a trail.
Mhm.
There's no more information at this time.
Okay,
Eventually, a trail will be open. You know, there's no timeline because of budget issues.
Right.
Of course.
All right. Saldo?
Saldo, we are hopefully going to approve the recommendation to bounce this draft amendment to the ordinance out of the ad hoc committee to, through our liaison and our township manager, to move it along as a change to our code. So I felt that I needed to give more contextual information after Peter's response. And I understand that these legal terms are just difficult. And one of the things about this one is difficult is just the word weed has all these different connotations. It's a noxious weed, it's a marijuana, now it's a Joe Pye weed, there's all these different manifestations. So maybe try and simplify some of this vocabulary to just get through.
Is that the newest one? Is that the simplified version? The new one?
Yeah, it's a revised, I did some revisions. So
The one you just
hopefully,
sent us.
yeah, today. So I'll go through them. What I'm gonna do is, we're gonna retitle this. We're not gonna call it weeds. So it doesn't get confused with marijuana, we're gonna call it the vegetation ordinance, which it was called before. So I just went through and changed the title, and I did have to work on the table of contents page pagination a little. So I have one correction on that. So, and then I just added some explanatory things in 2019, it's on page 2 at the bottom. In a bold move, Pennsylvania opened the door for the production of industrial hemp. So this is fairly new. It was initially involved as a research plant, but hemp was transitioned to commercial production. And what happened was, it was in the 2014 Farm Bill bounced this plant, which has all these different, it can be medical water, but it could be illegal, or it can be hemp. That's the same plant, so it all has all these manifestations. Excuse me. What the Department of Justice did in 2014 is they say, we're taking this plant and we're taking hemp, and it's going to be now under the Department of Agriculture. So it's not going to be, it's going to be out of this, this penalty and this whole illegal context. So hemp really acquired its own identity under the Department of Agriculture. And this is important because now it's under the State Department of Agriculture. Okay, and that's who we look to. So I didn't know if you were confused about.
No, I'm not confused. I just want to know why
Okay.
you're so adamant about putting this topic. That we just spent the first, I don't know, hour talking about how do we change the hearts and minds of people so that they understand that global warming is a thing to worry about.
Okay,
And
what this is a process of updating the code, the township code, the Saldo, where there is mention of plants. So if it's plants, street trees, or it's plant buffers, if there's, all that is in the Saldo code. This is just an outdated piece of the code that deals with plants that's being updated. So it's not part of the climate change.
All right.
It's just like,
All right.
we're gonna go,
Did
I'm
it
gonna go
say
through. Yeah,
controlled substances or no, what is it? Controlled plants before?
what happened was the federal government said, we're bouncing this out.
No,
But
no, no.
we're
I'm just
gonna-
asking what the
yeah.
ordinance said before. Did it say controlled plant?
The federal government called, the
I think
noxious
it's
weeds
from-
terminology comes from the federal
No, no, no,
government.
what-
And wait a minute, let me just finish. The federal government said, if you want to grow hemp in Pennsylvania or the states, you're going to have regulations. You're going to have permits, you're going to have inspections, and you are going to,
Just like
wait a
driving a
minute,
car.
wait a
Just like
minute.
driving a car. You
Yeah.
get a license. and you
You're
get
going to
your
have
car
to submit
inspected.
those regulations in your plan to control this plant, because state has to control
I
its
don't know why you're
production.
so, I still don't know why you're so like willing to we're not talking about even my lifetime. We're talking about lifetimes of people who've been on this planet doing things that were good. And now all of a sudden, within the general modern history, you have this, I brought a sample.
No, what the state of Pennsylvania says, it says, with this, it has this umbrella category. And it says, if you have a noxious weed, it's an umbrella
I
category.
understand the noxious weed and I
No,
appreciate.
wait a
I'm
minute. No,
trying
no,
not
no.
to, I'm trying to
Wait
balance,
a
like
minute.
not getting on you.
What the state says, no matter what it calls it, it says you are allowed to propagate, cultivate, market, transport this out of the state. Hemp, you are allowed to do this. So
Under
then they say, no, you can't do this. And the hemp, they say you can't do, and it's just under the same umbrella statute. That's all it's happening.
So are you saying that they're saying if you update your municipal code regarding plants, you need to address this?
You can't take, yes, because it's a piece that you can't take away.
Okay.
You can't take it out.
Well, then, hold on.
And this is
Hold off onto
beneficial. It's beneficial to have a definition of hemp in your code that says the state believes that this is a sustainable commodity and it's already being grown and we're already making money and we're already giving permits. And so I don't know, that's all, but it's not my focus. It's just there.
I know, I don't believe that you're required to have that worded in there the way you do.
Because
Peter, can I?
it's
oh.
a list. It
Yeah.
can't come out of the list.
Peter, I agree. I hear you and I understand exactly where you're coming from. But I think what Jan wrote, because it's in the state definition and we want to have validate that what was written. I think it's important. I don't know why we're arguing about this. I think it's important to have it in there because when Jan was doing this, that was one of the very questions she wanted to address with the Department of Agriculture from the beginning. Am I correct, Jan?
Well, it's attached. It's part of the noxious. It's part of
That's
the
right.
list.
Right.
The ones that we don't like. Here's the ones that we do like. Here's the list.
Well,
So what's the difference, Peter? I mean, I don't get it.
I don't like hemp because you put it on the list.
No,
But she didn't put it on the list. The state did.
She didn't do it.
I
No,
didn't do
you did do
it.
it. You don't have to.
The federal
Okay, what
government
I'm
said,
saying
if you
is-
want to do this, you have to regulate it. And the way you're going to regulate it is you're going to put it in a statute. And you're going to present that statute to us, how you're going to deal with this. What are the rules going to be? And the federal government has to approve it. So Pennsylvania said, yes, we will do that. Here's the template. That's it. That's all there is to it.
It's a template. That's all it is. And we're just following the rules. Otherwise, it's the old wording and we have to update the wording in the saldo. That's all it is. It's just updating the wording.
Right, and this is your
Okay,
suggestion
so
to
you're
the
basing it
board.
on the current, whatever, it's on the state. They say you have to call it this, but in 2020, which is after the 2018 Farm Bill, the House passed their version of trying to legalize hemp so that you could have, this is wall insulation that you can
That's
literally
great.
like eat.
I love it. What is it? This is great.
So why would you have, and it absorbs
Oh.
carbon? Why would you have, like, if you waited another year, you might have the Senate, the United States Senate passed their version, and we wouldn't have to worry about any of this.
All right, now,
This
let
is
me move.
anti-hemp?
No, this is it. Let me move on. All right, now we have it.
It's-
Now there's, I just had
Whoever
that.
comes to the
Wait a
next Board of
minute, wait a
Supervisors-
minute, wait a minute. Now, there's a disclaimer in here, and I did have to talk to an attorney about this because I didn't know how to word it. It says this, because, all right, this is another, people are gonna get polarized about this, because there's people that are gonna say, you're trying to take away my weed. And there's people that say marijuana is illegal. So I'm giving this to our solicitor, basically, and see what he does with it. Says this ordinance does not purport to
What am I
regulate,
talking about?
wait a minute, regulate marijuana, its cultivation, propagation, processing, and sale are regulated at state and federal level. It is intended that these matters regarding marijuana will be referred to the district attorney for disposition. The township only retains oversight over zoning and public health and safety. This says, what it says is the township has nothing to do with this. It says we have no marijuana laws. We're not gonna be responsible for enforcing this. If somebody gets arrested, then we bump it up to the county, and that, so we're neither pro nor con as far as that's concerned. So I think that's, that's it. Basically,
So this-
for me, the star of the
This is not
show.
actually part of it. That's for introduction. But this is the start, right?
Well, that's the resolution. The star of the
What's-
show for me in this ordinance is Japanese barberry, and hopefully it's gonna be Hilary Pear.
No, I meant what.
Because right now, on October 8th, it will become official that Japanese barberry will be called a noxious weed. Now, the special reason that's important is because the nurseries are still selling that. So what they're gonna do, they're working with a nursery business, and they're gonna say, we're not gonna enforce this for 2 years. So that gives the nurseries time to take out their inventory, to not buy new plants and
Not take a loss.
not take a loss. And some of them are gonna try to develop sterile varieties, but we can deal with that when the time comes.
Side note, should I rip mine out?
So you what?
Rip mine out?
Your Japanese
No.
barberry?
It's in there when I bought the house.
Absolutely,
Rip it out, okay.
absolutely.
Thanks.
Can I have a question on a definition that when I read through this? Is it okay to ask right now? Yes?
Yeah.
Okay, when I was going through the definitions, and it said about the health, safety, and general welfare, considering weeds, noxious weeds, invasive weeds, health, safety, and general welfare of the resident. What does that mean? I understand the ecological, economic, and concern causing harm to the natural ecosystems of Pennsylvania. But I do not understand if somebody asks us, what is unhealthy, safety, and general welfare? The only thing I can think of, if that's what it's relating to, is you'll have to use more weed killers and, to get rid of them. What does it actually mean?
Well, the township, one of the main purposes of township government is to look after the health, safety, and welfare of the citizens. And
Yes,
that is.
but what is unhealthy? I don't disagree with it. I'm just asking, what is the health, safety in general? What is a weed causing something to be unhealthy, safety, and general welfare? Are we generally using that because it's been repeated over and over? Or is there a general meaning to that definition?
Well, what that relates to, if you just let me get through this interrupted, because there's like pieces of it, till you get to like an actual example.
Okay.
The state is also responsible for your health, safety, and welfare, and it's written into their statute. What this means is there is also a definition of public nuisance. Something has to rise to the level where it's really detrimental to the citizens. Okay, so say you have a vacant lot. Now, the vacant lot is benign in itself. But the weeds start growing and the property owner isn't maybe just taking care of it. And then people start dumping their leftover McDonald's bags in there, and it starts attracting rats. And then the rats are invading their neighbor's basement. And what this says is that then becomes a public nuisance. So that's the only time that you step in, but it's affecting somebody's health. This is affecting somebody's welfare. So these are, concrete things that you can point to. So it's very situational. It's not the same thing that's going to happen on somebody else's property that's going to, if it wasn't a plan, it was like somebody's roof fell in on, somebody's roof fell in on your yard, that's not a public nuisance, but maybe not.
What about like Bradford pears that are so weak and they fall in trees or in storms all the time? I mean, I would think that's a safety issue. in my
Well,
neighborhood.
yes, it is a safety issue because, I see it as that. Now the township would have to see it as that as well, or the state would have to see that, Because what happens with a calorie pear is that they're very brittle and they start to split in storms and they lose their limbs and they fall on people.
Yeah.
And I think, that's a valid argument. So that's where that comes in, it has to rise to a level where it's either injury, it injures people.
Right.
Or poison, I just like poison ivy. Poison ivy is a native and is beneficial to birds and all that. But if you have poison ivy encroaching in our public parks, that starts to be a nuisance. And if people are burning poison ivy, then it starts to affect health and welfare safety, I think.
Okay, so I have one other question. I apologize for asking this. So I understand we can't mandate this, and yet it says up to $1,000 fine per occurrence. So I've asked this question before, and it wasn't because it was personal, but when I read through this, it says any homeowner, business, unincorporated, whatever, which can be considered HOAs. We all live in an HOA primarily. So are we saying that it really doesn't, if we write this whole saldo and we want, this woman was just on, wants to do something in her community, and she wants to present this saldo as, see, we have this saldo. Should we be following this and say within our common areas, we have to remove this? And if they say, let's say an HOA says, no, I'm sorry, we don't have to do that. So, but it says further on, it's up to $1,000 fine. So it's one way saying we have no rights to enforce it, but another way it's saying $1,000 fine. So what are we really saying to our communities? I'm totally confused by this.
Something that you need to do to the township solicitor.
I'm sorry, I can't hear anybody.
You have to address to the township solicitor. I have no idea what the history of this township is in enforcing.
There is no
And we've
enforcement, I would venture to
had
say.
a noxious weed ordinance probably since time immemorial. I have no idea how they enforced it. I have no idea how they would enforce it in the future.
So do we talk as the EAC to the solicitor?
And I will not attempt to answer that.
Wait, I can't hear it. You won't attempt to ask the question to our solicitor? Because why, and again, I'm not being argumentative, and we brought this question before. You say, when you say I'm not a lawyer, but we have it on one end of there is a fine, but on another end, nobody is enforcing it. Is there any other townships that actually do enforce it? I mean, can we talk to our solicitor and just question, what do we do?
Why haven't we enforced this? Haven't,
That's what I'm asking. You've been on a long time.
ask the solicitor, is there an example where you have enforced this? Ask the solicitor, do
Right.
you enforce these things in the future, and how would you attempt to do that? I can't answer this.
Have
These
that
are
Of
all
course not.
this is not a global solution for any HOA. We don't all live in HOAs.
Well, no, I'm just asking the question. Again, I'm not being argumentative. It's a question, you're right. We should ask the solicitor, but do we as an EAC ask so we understand ourselves?
I think
That's all I'm asking.
I think it's time.
I think it's
What was
time-
that, Ellen?
All
I'm
right.
sorry.
We'll move on to, we have.
I
it's
have
getting
no
late.
interest in enforcing that at all. That's not our job. If
So
they-
why put $1,000 fine there? Why put it in?
It's the township. We didn't write it. We have no influence over it.
We're
There's
just giving-
It
nothing.
was in, oh, you're saying it was in there before.
I'm sure it was, right? To some degree.
The penalties, I
We didn't come up with it.
actually softened the penalties. And I said, if you, and I don't know how they're gonna buy into it. I don't know whether they will or they won't. I said, if you remediate, if the township comes after you and you remediate within 30 days, there is no fine.
Right.
Say
No,
that.
I agree. I understand that. But let's say somebody puts in a complaint. Does our solicitor have the responsibility of making them?
This
at
really
all.
is argumentative and it isn't fair.
Well, and the meeting is running pretty long here.
Yes,
And
right.
I have to pee so bad.
Okay, I move that the EAC recommend forwarding the draft vegetation amendment to the Board of Supervisors for the appropriate referrals and approvals and the final adoption as Newtown Township Code. I move to do that.
Second.
Anybody
I'll
second?
second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, there you go. Did I-
Okay, so now, do we have?
Ellen, would you please send me that motion written? I couldn't catch it fast enough for the minutes.
I'll send it to you.
I
wrote
have,
it.
oh, her motion, thank you.
Be happy to.
So we can skip new business if we want and just go straight to liaison reports unless we have new business. Then I'm gonna say we skip it. Okay.
I'm just gonna say, as far as the trees that Worthington owes, there is no information. He has not given trees. Megan doesn't know about the trees or when they would be coming. I asked her if we could, kind of pressure that and ask them that directly. And she's gonna get back to me on that.
Okay.
So that's all I have for that.
So planning commission did not have a meeting, so there was no update there. John? He's on mute.
You want to know what happened at the last Board of Supervisors meeting?
Yeah, and joint zoning, either one and or both.
Well, there's going to be a zoning hearing board meeting on Monday on the 20th, okay? And at that meeting, they're going to hear, this is about Wawa, and they're going to hear from residents. And then perhaps they might make a decision, or maybe they won't.
Okay. So that one's been canceled.
What's been canceled?
I don't know. There's a note on the door that one meeting has been canceled. I didn't.
That's the
catch-
Parks and Rec board has been canceled. Other things that would be of interest to you, I don't know, about the Lower Darlington Trail. They're still trying to get more information from the engineer. They're still, Excuse me?
How about the approval of the toll development across the street, and that the parking, that their exit from their community is gonna go through our township parking lot?
yeah, that hasn't come up for discussion yet at the Board of Supervisors, but a letter has been sent out and the plan has it going to, what's the name of the road there?
Cobblestone,
Municipal Drive.
yeah,
Drive.
yeah, they're municipal.
John, is it going to go through any conservation area? Because when you look at the map,
It
Coming
is in the
out.
conservation management zone.
you see where the houses end? I have the map in front of me. And before it wasn't going to extend because there was a conservation area there. Does that access road into Municipal Drive go through any conservation area that will affect our EAC?
Almost dead.
Well, as far as I know, the total property there is zoned for conservation management. I'm not quite sure about the strip of land that goes through to get to Municipal Drive. I think that was something owned by the township. That's a good
But would that-
question.
No, I think the question goes, would it affect that, where they're trying to negotiate with Toll Brothers with that new access road, and, changing the access road. But if it has any conservation area, then that would be a question to change or to not use that particular model of what, that they changed to recently.
I mean, in the letter, it talks about all that. It says the advantages that this plan has over the other plan. It doesn't, it really disturbs less of the agricultural use or things like that. So they're trying to say this plan is better than the other plan, not just because of the change in the road, but the impact on the agricultural soils. I don't know if you read the letter in detail. I don't have memorized the points that they made in there, but obviously that's something that's going to be discussed. I'm going to have this Meet Mac Monday meeting before this coming Monday at 5:00. And that's on the agenda. There'll be a lot of people on the Zoom meeting that are very familiar with what Toll is trying to do in that area.
Mhm.
And I'm sure we'll learn a lot. That's why I have my Meet Mac meetings, to try to learn more about this.
Mhm.
And that'll be virtual.
Yeah, I'll be on Zoom. You could look on my website under upcoming meetings. There's a registration link. Or I
Okay,
could send it to you by email
oh,
after.
that'd be great.
Thank you.
Is anybody from Toll going to, can we contact anybody about this, that maybe they can come and speak to that and answer the residents' concerns, because they are many and they have a valid point.
Well, yeah, I mean, but that happens when it comes before the board to make a decision on this, that there'll be a period, obviously, of public comment, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of people from the public there. I know the McCarrans are interested in this because they live across the street, and it might impact their traffic.
They
coming
said
in.
something about putting in a traffic light there, which is another traffic light on Durham Road on 413.
They're not in charge of putting the traffic lights there. PennDOT is in charge. They
I
might
know.
apply for it. It doesn't mean PennDOT would comply with that.
John,
Yeah,
is there anybody from Toll Brothers going to be at any meeting to answer
I-
any, or is it too soon for that?
I don't know, but I'm sure they will, just like the developer of Arcadia has made many appearances before the Board of Supervisors when they were discussing this. Either there'll be their lawyer there, or there'll be obviously also some representatives from Toll, I believe. They were at the last time we discussed this, they were there.
All right, we're about to run out of power.
Yeah,
and
my
it's-
laptop's battery is on the last little bit here. So.
Okay. Thank
Alrighty.
you.
Thank
Um,
you.
Yep, thank you, guys.
Thank you, everybody.
Over and out.
Good night.
Good night.
Go home.
If you wanna do something,
Good night. I'm gonna end the meeting. Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you.
I'll send